I stood in my childhood home's living room, suitcase in hand, as my father screamed that I was ungrateful and my mother nodded in cold agreement. They demanded I leave and never return. The argument erupted because I refused to cancel my own birthday dinner plans to babysit my brother's kids again. 3 years of silent sacrifice flashed through my mind. Without a word, I walked out the door. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I simply left, pulling the door shut on 28 years of always being second. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I drove away from the only home I'd ever known. The streetlights blurred through tears I refused to let fall. I kept driving until I reached my apartment downtown, the one my parents knew nothing about. For 2 years I'd kept this secret. They thought I lived with roommates in some cheap place across town, scraping by on what they assumed was an entry-level salary. The truth was so different it almost made me laugh. I owned a beautiful one-bedroom condo on the 14th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I'd bought it 3 years ago with my marketing director salary, but I'd never told them. Why? Because the moment they knew I had money, they'd want more of it. I unlocked my door and stepped into my sanctuary. The evening light poured through those windows, casting everything in gold. This was mine. I'd earned it. I'd furnished it. I'd made it home. And they'd never once asked to see where I lived. I dropped my suitcase and went straight to my home office. In the bottom drawer of my desk, I kept a folder I'd labeled Family Finances. I hadn't looked at it in months, because looking at it made me sick. But tonight, I needed to see the truth in black and white. I spread the documents across my desk. Mortgage payment confirmations, bank statements, loan agreements, receipts for transfers I'd made every single month for 3 years. The numbers told a story I'd been too afraid to read. Mortgage payments to my parents, $2,400 every month for 36 months. Total, $86,400. Car payments for their 2 vehicles, $650 monthly. Total, $23,400. My younger brother Tyler's student loans, which I'd somehow become responsible for, $400 monthly. Total, $14,400. Monthly expense money I gave them for groceries, utilities, whatever they claimed they needed, $1,000 monthly. Total, $36,000. Emergency payments I'd made over 3 years for car repairs, medical bills, home repairs, and expenses for Tyler's 3 kids, approximately $18,000. Grand total, $178,200. I stared at that number until it stopped looking like numbers and started looking like years of my life. That was my retirement fund. That was the down payment on a bigger house. That was financial security. That was 3 years of dinners I didn't eat at nice restaurants, vacations I didn't take, clothes I didn't buy, experiences I postponed because family came first. And tonight, they'd called me ungrateful. My phone buzzed. My best friend Jenna calling. "Hey," I answered, my voice surprisingly steady. "Where are you?" "You were supposed to meet me for your birthday dinner an hour ago." My birthday. I'd completely forgotten. "I'm home. Something happened with my parents. I'm coming over." 20 minutes later, Jenna sat on my couch, listening to the whole story. She'd been my friend since college, and she'd watched this slow-motion disaster unfold for years. "Colette," she said when I finished, "you know this is financial abuse, right?" The word hung in the air between us. Abuse. "They're my parents," I said weakly, "who have taken almost $200,000 from you in 3 years and just kicked you out for setting a boundary. That's abuse." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. She was right. That night, after Jenna left, I did something I'd been too scared to do before. I went into my bank's website and stopped the automatic payment to my parents' mortgage company. The payment that had gone through like clockwork for 36 months. The payment scheduled to go out in 3 days. I canceled it. Then I sat back and watched my checking account balance. Within a week, I'd have an extra $2,400 sitting there. Money that was mine. Money I'd earned. The first week after leaving was strange. I woke up Tuesday morning and realized I didn't have to babysit Tyler's kids that evening. Wednesday, I didn't have to call my mother to hear her list of complaints and requests. Thursday, I didn't have to send money. Friday, I went to work without the exhausted fog that had been my constant companion. At work, I was sharper, more focused. My boss Amanda noticed immediately. "Great presentation today," she said, after I pitched a new marketing campaign. "You seem different lately. More confident." I was different. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't splitting my brain between my career and my family's endless needs. I realized I'd been missing important work events, turning down opportunities to lead projects, leaving early to babysit. All because family came first. Tyler and his wife Melissa had 3 kids under 8 years old. Somehow, over the past 3 years, I'd become their free childcare. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening. Most Saturdays. Sometimes emergency afternoons when Melissa wanted to go shopping or Tyler wanted to play basketball with friends. I'd missed client dinners for babysitting, turned down a chance to lead our biggest campaign because it required evening work, passed on a promotion because I couldn't commit to occasional overnight travel, all for a family that just kicked me out. The weekend came. Saturday morning, I woke up in my own apartment with nowhere I had to be. No one who needed me. It felt wrong and wonderful at the same time. I ordered coffee from the expensive cafe downstairs, the one I'd always avoided because I was sending money home instead. I sat by my window and watched the city wake up. I felt light. I felt guilty for feeling light. I felt angry at myself for feeling guilty. My phone stayed silent. No calls from my parents. No texts from Tyler. It was like I'd simply ceased to exist the moment I stopped being useful. Sunday evening, I couldn't help myself. I opened my old text messages and scrolled back through 3 years of conversations with my family. Every single conversation from my parents involved asking for money or demanding favors. Not one asked how I was doing. Not one acknowledged my birthday or congratulated me on my work accomplishments. My mother's last birthday text to me had been 3 years ago, right before the payments started. Tyler's messages were even worse. Every text was either asking me to babysit or requesting money for his kids. The last message, sent the day before the blow-up, said, "Need you to watch the kids Thursday. Melissa has plans. You're the best sis." I wasn't the best sister. I was the most convenient sister. But the real shock came when I found something I'd forgotten about. 2 months ago, I'd accidentally been included in a group text between my parents and Tyler. They'd removed me from the chat within minutes, but not before I'd seen a few messages. I'd screenshot them, but never looked at them again. Until now. I opened the screenshots and felt my heart stop. "Dad, as long as we keep her feeling guilty, she'll keep paying." "Mom, she's always been desperate for our approval." "Easy to manipulate, Tyler. Just keep telling her family is everything. She falls for it every time." "Dad, she makes good money. She can afford it. We deserve to live comfortably." "Mom, exactly. We raised her. This is the least she can do." I read the messages 3 times. Then I screenshot them again and saved them to 3 different places. I didn't know why yet, but I knew I'd need them. They knew. They knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't parents struggling and a daughter helping. This was calculated manipulation. They'd built a system to extract money from me, and they'd been laughing about it. The hurt I'd been feeling crystallized into something harder. Clearer. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. And anger, I was learning, could be fuel. I looked at my bank account. After 1 week, I had $2,400 I would have sent to them sitting in my checking account. It felt surreal. This was my money. I'd earned it. And for the first time in 3 years, I got to keep it. I made a decision that night. No more. Whatever they said, whatever they threatened, whatever guilt they tried to pile on me, I was done. They'd had 3 years and almost $200,000. They'd get nothing more. I didn't know it then, but that decision was about to start a war. The first month without my family was like learning to breathe in a different atmosphere. Everything felt strange. I'd wake up and instinctively check my phone for demands from my parents. Nothing. I'd leave work and remember I didn't have to babysit. The freedom felt like guilt, and I had to keep reminding myself that guilt was their weapon, not my truth. I threw myself into work with an intensity I'd forgotten I had. When Amanda asked if I wanted to lead the Henderson campaign, our biggest client of the year, I said yes without hesitation. The old me would have checked my family calendar first, would have worried about conflicts with babysitting or emergency requests. The new me just said yes. The campaign required evening meetings twice a week. Strategy sessions that went until 8 or 9 at night. In the past, I would have been checking my watch, anxious about getting to Tyler's house. Now I stayed engaged, contributed ideas, let my creativity flow without the constant background noise of obligation. "You're on fire lately," my colleague James said after one particularly productive meeting. Where has this Colette been hiding? Under a mountain of family obligation, I thought, but didn't say. Amanda pulled me aside at the end of the second week. "I don't know what's changed, but keep it up. You're doing the work I always knew you could do." I wanted to tell her the truth. That I'd been carrying an invisible weight that had been crushing my potential. That removing toxic people from your life, even when they're family, could feel like removing chains you didn't know you were wearing. But I just thanked her and promised to keep delivering. That weekend, Jenna convinced me to take a trip to the mountains. "Just 2 days," she said. "A cabin rental, some hiking, time to clear my head." I'd never taken a weekend trip in 3 years. There had always been some family obligation preventing it. We drove 3 hours north to a small cabin near a state park. No cell service, which felt terrifying and liberating at once. We hiked 6 miles through golden autumn woods. We cooked simple meals. We sat by a fire and talked about everything except my family. On Sunday morning, as we drove back toward the city and cell service returned, my phone buzzed with notifications. For a moment, my heart jumped. Maybe my parents had reached out. Maybe they'd apologized. But the messages were from Jenna's boyfriend, from work, from my dentist about an appointment. Nothing from my family. 6 weeks of silence from them, broken only by that absence of contact. "They're not going to reach out," Jenna said, watching my face. "Not until they need something." She was right. I knew she was right. But part of me had still hoped. That Monday, I made an appointment I'd been putting off. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a therapist specializing in family dynamics. I'd found her website months ago, but hadn't made the call, too afraid of what it meant to need therapy, because of your own parents. Her office was warm, filled with plants and soft furniture. She was maybe 50, with kind eyes and a direct way of speaking that made me trust her immediately. "Tell me why you're here," she said. I told her everything. The 3 years of payments, the manipulation, the screenshot messages, the blow-up, the silence. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "What you're describing is financial abuse, combined with emotional parentification. You've been treated as a resource, not as a daughter. And you've been made to feel responsible for adult problems since you were very young, haven't you?" The words hit me like truth often does, sudden and painful. "How did you know?" "It's a pattern. Tell me about your childhood." Over the next hour, I unpacked memories I'd buried. How I'd been responsible for mediating my parents' arguments since I was 10. How I'd taken care of Tyler when he was born, more like a third parent than a sister. How I'd gotten a job at 14 and my first paychecks had gone to family expenses. How I'd been praised only when I was useful. "You were never allowed to just be a child," Dr. Sarah said. "And now, as an adult, you're breaking a pattern that's been established your entire life. That takes enormous courage." I cried in her office. Not sad tears, but something deeper. relief maybe, or grief for the childhood I'd never had. By month 2, I'd saved $8,900. 2 months of mortgage payments, car payments, and expense money that stayed in my account. I paid off my own credit card debt. $6,000 I'd accumulated from various family emergencies over the years. Medical bills for my mother, car repairs for my father, school supplies and activities for Tyler's kids. With my credit card at zero for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe deeper. I met with a financial advisor named Marcus Chen. His office overlooked downtown, all glass and steel. He looked at my financial history with a frown that deepened as he scrolled through my bank statements. $178,000 in 3 years, he said finally. To your parents. Yes. And you're 28 years old. Yes. He turned his computer screen toward me. This is what that money would look like if you'd invested it in a standard index fund over those 3 years. The number on the screen made me dizzy. $195,000. And that was just the beginning. He showed me projections. If I'd invested that money and continued contributing, by retirement age, I'd have over $800,000. You didn't just give them money, Marcus said gently. You gave them your retirement, your financial security, your future. I left his office feeling sick. But Marcus had also given me something valuable. A financial plan for moving forward. Emergency fund. Check. Retirement. Catch up. Check. Investment account. Check. For the first time in my adult life, I was planning for my own future. I'd also started dating. His name was Brian, and I'd met him at a work conference 6 weeks ago. He was a software developer, quiet and thoughtful, with a dry sense of humor that made me laugh. We'd gone on 4 dates, and he knew nothing about my family drama. He liked me for me. Not for what I could give him. Not for what I could do for him. Just me. On our 5th date, we were walking through the park when he said, "You seem lighter than when I first met you." Like something heavy lifted. I cut some toxic people out of my life, I said carefully. Good for you. That takes strength. It was the validation I didn't know I needed. By month 3, my life had transformed. I'd been promoted to senior marketing director with a $35,000 raise. My apartment felt like home. My savings account had grown. My relationship with Brian was deepening. I was seeing Dr. Sarah weekly and unpacking years of emotional damage. Life was good. Better than it had been in years. Maybe better than it had ever been. And then the letter came. It arrived on a Tuesday, forwarded from my old address to my real one, from the mortgage company. I was still listed as a cosigner on my parents' mortgage, something my father had convinced me to do when I was 25, and naive and desperate for his approval. 3 months of missed payments. The property was entering pre-foreclosure proceedings. My credit would be damaged, along with theirs. I sat on my couch, staring at the letter, feeling that old anxiety creeping back. This wasn't my responsibility. I hadn't lived in that house in years. I'd paid their mortgage for 36 months, thousands upon thousands of dollars. They'd kicked me out. This wasn't my problem, but my name was on that loan. My credit was at risk. They'd tied me to them legally, and I hadn't even realized it was a trap. I called the lawyer Jenna had recommended, Hannah Price. Her office could see me the next day. That night, I couldn't help myself. I checked the old family group chat, the one I'd muted 3 months ago. I hadn't looked at it since I left. Now, I scrolled through dozens of unread messages. Week 1. Tyler complaining he needed a babysitter, my parents sympathizing with him. Week 4. Mom commenting they'd need to tighten their belts without my money. Week 8. Dad angry about the mortgage, blaming the economy and interest rates. Week 10. Tyler suggesting they just call me, saying I'd cave like I always did. Mom's response. Give it time. She'll come crawling back. Week 12. Dad writing, I'll handle this. The last message had been sent yesterday. I knew what was coming before it came. I could feel it building like a storm. My phone buzzed in my hand. A text from a number saved as Dad. Why haven't you paid the mortgage? Not hello. Not how are you. Not we miss you. Not we're sorry. Just a demand. Just an expectation. Just the confirmation that I'd never been a daughter to them. I'd been a bank account. My hands shook as I typed my response. I thought I wasn't welcome. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then my phone lit up like a firework display. Dad calling, Mom calling, Tyler calling. The calls overlapped, one after another. I declined them all. Then the texts started flooding in, dozens in the span of minutes, the group chat exploding back to life. My phone was literally exploding with notifications. 3 months of silence shattered in an instant. And all because they needed something from me. I turned my phone to silent and watched it light up over and over. Each notification another confirmation that I'd made the right choice 3 months ago. They didn't want me back. They wanted my money back. And that was something they'd never get again. I couldn't look away from my phone. Even on silent, I could see it lighting up every few seconds. Message after message, call after call. The screen was a constant strobe of incoming demands. Finally, I unlocked it and started reading. Dad, this is unacceptable. We're family. You have obligations. Mom, how could you do this to us? We raised you better than this. Tyler, you're really going to let Mom and Dad lose their house? What kind of person are you? Then more. Angrier. Dad, you owe us. We gave you everything. Call me back now. Mom, ungrateful daughter. After all we've sacrificed for you. Tyler, you're being selfish. Think about someone other than yourself for once. I watched the messages pile up, and something strange happened. Instead of feeling guilty, I felt calm, clear, like I was watching their manipulation from outside my body, seeing it for what it was instead of feeling it in my bones. Dr. Sarah's voice echoed in my head from our last session. Notice how they make their problems your responsibility. Notice how their feelings become your emergency. I didn't respond. Just watched the digital tantrum unfold. Within an hour, I had 17 missed calls. The voicemails piled up. Against my better judgment, I listened to them. Dad's voice was sharp, entitled, Colette, this is ridiculous. You need to call me back immediately. We need to discuss your responsibilities to this family. Your mother is upset. Call me back. Mom's voicemail was different, calculated tears in her voice. Sweetie, I don't understand what's happened. We're going to lose our home. Please, we need to talk. I'm so disappointed. I thought we raised you better. Call me back when you remember what family means. Tyler's was the worst. Really, Colette? You're going to do this to Mom and Dad? They're losing their house because of you. My kids keep asking where Aunt Colette is. What am I supposed to tell them? That their aunt is selfish? That she abandoned us? Call me back. We need to fix this. I played that one twice. My nieces and nephews. They were 7, 5, and 3 years old. Sweet kids who I'd spent countless hours with. But even that guilt felt different now. Those kids had 2 parents who could take care of them. I wasn't abandoning them. I was letting their parents actually parent them. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Jenna, are you okay? You're not responding to my texts. Family emergency, I said. Then laughed bitterly. Except it's their emergency. And they want to make it mine. What happened? I told her about the mortgage, the letter, the explosion of messages. Come over, she said. Right now. Don't sit there alone with this. 30 minutes later, I was on her couch while she made tea. Her apartment was smaller than mine, but always felt cozy. Lived in. Photos on every surface, plants overflowing from pots, the comfortable chaos of someone who actually enjoyed their space. She handed me chamomile tea and sat down. Let me see the messages. End. 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 I handed her my phone. She scrolled in silence, her expression darkening with each swipe. Colette, this is abuse. She looked up at me. Do you hear me? This is literally financial and emotional abuse. I know, I said quietly. No, I don't think you do. She pulled out her own phone and started searching. Look at this. This article about family financial exploitation. Every single warning sign matches. Guilt, obligation, entitlement, no gratitude, demands, isolation from support systems. I read over her shoulder. The article could have been written about my family specifically. Emotional manipulation, weaponized guilt, financial coercion, parentification. Every term had my parents' names written all over it. They love what you provide, Jenna said gently. Not who you are. The truth of it hit me like cold water. They'd never asked about my work achievements, never celebrated my promotion, never inquired about my life. Every conversation had been transactional. What could I give them? What could I do for them? How could I serve their needs? I started crying, not sad tears, but angry ones. I gave them everything. 3 years, over $178,000, and they never once said thank you. Jenna put her arm around me. You deserved so much better than this. We sat like that for a while, her friendship a quiet anchor while my phone continued lighting up with calls and texts I didn't answer. You should block them, Jenna said. I can't. Not yet. Why not? I didn't have a good answer. Maybe because blocking them felt final. Maybe because some small, damaged part of me still hoped they'd realize what they'd done and apologize. Maybe because I was still learning how to protect myself. Okay, Jenna said, but at least silence their notifications. You don't need to see every manipulation in real time. She was right. I silenced notifications from all 3 of them. My phone went still. 2 hours later, my email pinged. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. I knew who it was from. Subject: family meeting. Required: from my father's email address. I opened it with Jenna looking over my shoulder. The email was long, formal, cold. He'd written it like a business document. A list of expectations and demands. He expected me to resume mortgage payments immediately. He expected me to catch up on the 3 months I'd missed, totaling $7,200. He expected me to resume all other financial contributions. He expected me to apologize for abandoning them. Then came the justification. A detailed breakdown of what it cost to raise a child. Food, clothing, shelter, education. He'd calculated it all, as if raising a child was an investment that required repayment. As if parents were creditors and children were debtors. You need to remember where you came from, he wrote. We made you who you are. This family gave you everything. And now, when we need you, you turn your back. You have 24 hours to respond to this email and make arrangements to fulfill your obligations, or there will be consequences. I stared at that last word. Consequences. What could he possibly mean? What leverage did he have? What could he do to me? He's threatening you, Jenna said, her voice tight with anger. He's actually threatening his own daughter. I realized something in that moment. He was desperate. They all were. And desperate people lash out. But desperate people also have no power. I'd been giving them power by accepting their guilt. Without my compliance, they had nothing. I need to respond, I said. Don't. Not tonight. Talk to your lawyer first. She was right. I closed my laptop and tried to breathe through the anxiety clawing at my chest. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. This one had an attachment. I opened it against my better judgment. A photo of my old bedroom, completely stripped. Empty walls, empty closet, nothing left. His message. Cleaned out your room. You're clearly not coming back. Found some interesting things, though. My heart sank. What had I left there? Another text. Remember that journal you kept in high school? Found it in your closet. Some pretty embarrassing stuff in there. Would be a shame if people saw it. I stared at the message, feeling violated. He'd gone through my things, my private journal, and now he was threatening to weaponize it. But then I thought about what was actually in that journal. Teenage thoughts, college struggles, crushes, and friend drama, and normal life things. Nothing truly embarrassing. Nothing that could hurt me unless I gave it power. I texted back before I could stop myself. Go ahead. I'm not ashamed of my past. Tyler didn't respond. Empty threat called. Bluff exposed. That evening, as I sat in my apartment trying to process everything, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Colette? This is your Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year. Hi, Aunt Patricia. Your mother called me. She was crying. She said you abandoned them financially, that you stopped paying their mortgage. Is that true? My defenses rose immediately. I don't think I should discuss this. Wait, let me finish, she interrupted. She said you'd been paying their mortgage. I didn't know that. How long? 3 years. Silence on the other end. Then, oh, Colette. That woman. What? I knew she was manipulating someone. She always does. I just didn't know it was you this time. What do you mean, this time? Your mother has done this to multiple family members over the years. You're just the latest one. Can we meet? Tomorrow? There's a lot you need to know. I agreed, too stunned to say anything else. We made plans to meet for coffee the next morning. After I hung up, I sat in the dark of my apartment, my mind racing. Patricia said my mother had done this before. To multiple people. This wasn't just bad judgment or hard times. This was a pattern, a system, a repeated behavior. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't ungrateful. I was a victim, in a long line of victims, and my crime was being close enough to exploit. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about Patricia's words, about the email from my father, about Tyler's threats, about 3 months of silence that had exploded the moment they needed money. Tomorrow, I'd learn the truth about my family, and something told me I wasn't going to like what I discovered. Patricia was already at the coffee shop when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with 2 cups steaming in front of her. She was 62, my mother's older sister. With kind eyes and gray hair she wore short and practical. I'd always liked her, but we'd drifted apart over the years. Now I realized it probably wasn't drift. It was probably my mother. I ordered you a latte, she said as I slid into the booth. I remember you liked them. The small kindness made my throat tight. When was the last time someone in my family had remembered what I liked? Thank you for meeting me, I said. I should have reached out sooner. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know it was this bad. She pulled a folder from her bag and set it on the table between us. It was thick, stuffed with papers. What's that? Evidence, documentation, a timeline I've been keeping for years. She opened it. Your mother has been financially exploiting family members for over 15 years. You're the 5th person I know of. My hands went cold. 5th? She pulled out papers and spread them across the table. Letters, printed emails, text message screenshots. Your Uncle Frank, my ex-husband. Back in 2010, your mother convinced him to help with some home renovations. Just a few thousand, she said. It turned into him paying their bills for 5 years. Credit cards, property taxes, car payments. He gave them over $40,000 before I found out, and made him stop. We almost divorced over it. That's why you never see him at family events anymore. Your mother told everyone he abandoned the family. The truth is, we cut her off. She pulled out more papers. Your cousin Jennifer, from 2016 to 2018. She paid their utilities and medical bills. 24 months. She moved to Oregon to get away from them. More papers. Your mother's own brother, David. He loaned them $30,000 in 2019. They never repaid a cent. He went no contact in 2020. Another stack. Me. I paid their property taxes for 3 years, 2019 through 2022. Almost 15,000 total. I stopped when I saw the pattern repeating with you, starting around the same time. I stared at the papers. Years of exploitation laid out in black and white. Why didn't anyone tell me? We tried. Your mother cut off contact with anyone who set boundaries. She isolated you. Made you think we'd all abandoned her. The truth is, we all ran for our lives. Patricia pulled out one more document. Here's what really made me sick. Look at this. It was a property assessment. My parents' house. Current market value, $450,000. Mortgage balance, $180,000. They have almost $300,000 in equity, Patricia said. They could sell tomorrow, downsize to something reasonable, and live comfortably. But they won't, because as long as someone else pays their mortgage, why should they? I felt dizzy. So all of this, the struggling, the crisis, it's all a choice. They choose to live beyond their means because they've always found someone to pay for it. Patricia told me more. How my mother had shown signs of this behavior since they were young. How she'd always felt entitled to comfort at others' expense. How my father enabled her, playing the victim alongside her. And Tyler learned from both of them, Patricia said. He's been taught that manipulation is how you get what you need. She handed me the folder. This is yours. You might need it. Later that afternoon, I sat in lawyer Hannah Price's office. She was mid-40s, sharp-eyed, with a no-nonsense demeanor that made me feel safe. I explained the co-signer situation, showed her my father's threatening email, the text messages, Patricia's documentation. Hannah reviewed everything carefully. Your father's email constitutes financial coercion. The pattern of manipulation is clear. We can get you removed as co-signer, but it'll require proof of fraud or duress. Do I have that? She smiled grimly. You have more than enough. The co-signing happened when you were 25. Your father was in a position of authority. The text messages show a pattern of manipulation. This email is an overt threat. She tapped the document. We can argue you were coerced into co-signing and have been financially abused for years. How much will this cost? $3,000 in legal fees, worth every penny to protect your credit and future. I signed the paperwork. $3,000 felt like a lot, but losing my credit to their foreclosure would cost more in the long run. One more thing, Hannah said. If they continue harassing you, we can file for a restraining order. This level of contact, after you've set boundaries, crosses a line. That evening, I met with Marcus, my financial advisor. He'd asked me to come in for a comprehensive audit of everything I'd given my family. He walked me through it, line by line. The numbers were worse when laid out this way. Every payment dated. Every amount documented. Mortgage payments, $86,400. Car payments, $23,400. Tyler's student loans, $14,400. Monthly expense money, $36,000. Emergency payments for their various crises, $18,000. Total, $178,200 in 36 months. Look at this, Marcus said, turning his screen. This is a projection of what this money would be worth if you'd invested it. The graph showed a climbing line. $195,000 now. Over $800,000 by retirement age at 67. You didn't just give them money, Marcus said. You gave them your entire retirement future. He helped me build a new financial plan. Emergency fund first. $15,000. I'd have it in 3 months at my current savings rate. Then, max out retirement contributions to catch up. Start an investment account with $500 monthly. In 2 years, Save for a house down payment. You can recover from this, Marcus assured me. You're young and you have a good income, but you have to stay firm. No more money to them. I won't, I promised. That night, Brian came over with takeout. We'd been dating for 2 months now, and I knew I needed to tell him what was happening. I was terrified he'd think I was too dramatic, too much, too broken. I explained everything while we ate pad thai on my couch. The 3 years of payments, the manipulation, the explosion of contact when they needed money, the lawyer, the financial audit. Brian listened without interrupting. When I finished, I braced myself for his reaction. You've been financially abused, he said simply. That's not your fault. I blinked back tears. You don't think I'm making too big a deal out of this? Are you kidding? You walked away from systematic abuse. That takes incredible courage. He took my hand. My parents are therapists. I know manipulation tactics when I see them. What they did to you is textbook financial and emotional abuse. You don't think I'm damaged? I think you're strong. You recognized the problem and you left. Most people can't do that, especially with family. That night, Brian stayed over. Just sleeping, his presence a comfort. For the first time in months, I felt like maybe I could have healthy relationships. Maybe I was worthy of someone who didn't want to use me. 3 days after sending my cease and desist through Hannah, the response came. But it wasn't from my parents. It was certified mail from their lawyer. My hands shook as I opened it. Legal letterhead. Official language. A demand letter. They were claiming I'd verbally agreed to pay their mortgage indefinitely. They were threatening to sue me for breach of contract. They were demanding $7,200 in back payments plus $50,000 for emotional distress I'd allegedly caused them. I couldn't breathe. They were suing me. My own parents were threatening to take me to court. I called Hannah immediately. I got the same letter, she said. Don't panic. This is a scare tactic. Can they actually sue me? They can file a lawsuit. Anyone can file anything. But they won't win. Verbal contracts between adult children and parents for ongoing support aren't enforceable. And emotional distress? Please. We have evidence of their abuse, not yours. So what do? We respond formally. And we go on the offensive. Hannah drafted a response that made my hands shake to read. It detailed every payment I'd made, every manipulative text, every threat. It used words like systematic financial abuse and exploitation and coercion. It demanded they cease all contact immediately. It warned that continued harassment would result in a restraining order and a countersuit for the return of money obtained through fraud and manipulation. Are we really saying fraud? I asked. The co-signing was obtained through fraud. You were told you'd never have to pay. That's fraud. We have a case. The letter went out. I knew when it was delivered because my phone exploded again. But this time, I was prepared. Every voicemail saved. Every text screenshot. Every call logged. They were building my case for me. Dad's voicemails got increasingly unhinged, screaming about betrayal, threatening to ruin my reputation, calling me names I'd never heard him use. Mom's texts were manipulative poetry. How can you do this to your own mother? I'm having heart palpitations from the stress you've caused. The doctor says I might need to be hospitalized. I hope you can live with yourself. Tyler's messages mixed threats and guilt in equal measure. Mom's in the hospital because of you. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. Hope you're happy. You're tearing this family apart. I forwarded everything to Hannah. Perfect, she said. They're showing their true colors. This is harassment. We have everything we need for a restraining order if you want it. I wasn't ready for that yet, but it was good to know I had options. Patricia texted me support. Stay strong. They did this exact thing to Frank. Threatened legal action. Claimed he owed them. It's all bluff. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the family I thought I had versus the family I actually had. The parents who were supposed to protect me had exploited me. The brother who was supposed to be my ally had used me. But I also thought about Patricia, who'd reached out. About Hannah, fighting for me. About Marcus, helping me rebuild. About Jenna, supporting me through everything. About Brian, seeing my strength instead of my damage. Family wasn't just blood. Family was the people who showed up. And my real family was showing up now. Tomorrow, I'd find out just how far my blood relatives were willing to go, and I'd be ready. 3 days after Hannah sent our cease and desist letter, they received it. I knew the exact moment because my phone started lighting up like a slot machine hitting jackpot. But this time, I didn't panic. I let every call go to voicemail, let every text pile up unread. This was evidence now. Ammunition. That evening, I sat with Jenna, and we went through them together. Dad's voicemails were a masterclass in escalation. The first one was almost calm. Colette, we received a very concerning letter from a lawyer. This is getting out of hand. Call me so we can discuss this like adults. By the fourth voicemail, the mask had completely slipped. You ungrateful little brat. After everything we've done for you, we gave you life. We gave you everything. And this is how you repay us? By threatening us with lawyers? You're going to regret this. I promise you that. Everyone will know what kind of daughter you are. Mom's texts were different, more calculated, more designed to inflict maximum guilt. I can't stop crying. 3 days now. Can't eat. Can't sleep. Dr. Morrison wants to put me on medication for the stress. Is this what you wanted? To break your mother's heart? Your grandmother called. She's so disappointed in you. The whole family is talking about what you've done to us. You've humiliated us. I keep looking at your baby pictures. Where did that sweet little girl go? What happened to you? Tyler's messages were a mix of anger and desperation. Dad can't work because of the stress you're causing. Mom won't get out of bed. My kids keep asking why Aunt Colette hates them. What am I supposed to say? I screenshot everything and sent it to Hannah. Her response was immediate. This is textbook harassment. They're building our case beautifully. Keep documenting. The next morning, I woke up to 73 notifications on Facebook. My stomach sank before I even opened the app. Mom had made a public post. The privacy setting was public. The post was long, written in her martyr voice that I knew so well. When your child abandons you. A mother's heartbreak. It went on for paragraphs, about how she and Dad had always put their children first, how they'd sacrificed everything to give Tyler and me good lives, how they'd asked me for small help during hard times, and I'd cruelly cut them off, how I'd turned my back on them in their time of need. Not one word about $178,000. Not one mention of 3 years of monthly payments. Not one acknowledgement that their time of need had lasted 36 months and counting. The comments were already piling up. Church friends offering prayers. Neighbors expressing shock. Distant relatives I barely knew chiming in. With support from my poor parents. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Kids these days have no respect. After all you've done for her. Heartbreaking. Praying for your family. I felt sick. Humiliated, exposed. They'd weaponized social media, creating a narrative where they were victims and I was the villain. Jenna saw the post within minutes. Don't respond yet. Think first. Brian saw it too. Before I could stop him, he commented, There's always 2 sides to a story. Maybe ask why she felt she needed to leave before judging her character. Within minutes, Mom's friends attacked him. You don't know this family. Stay out of family business. Who are you to defend someone who abandons her parents? I spent 2 hours crafting my response. It needed to be professional, boundaried, true, without being defensive. Finally, I posted, I appreciate everyone's concern for my family. This is a private matter, involving complex financial and emotional dynamics that can't be fully explained in a social media post. I've made the difficult decision to protect my own well-being and financial future after years of unsustainable circumstances. I wish my parents well, and hope they find the resources they need to move forward. I won't be discussing this situation further in public spaces. Thank you for respecting my privacy. I posted it as a comment on her thread and as my own status. Then I tagged her post so people would see both. The tide started shifting. People started asking questions. Financial dynamics? What does that mean? Years of unsustainable circumstances? There's more to this story. Why won't she discuss it? What are we not being told? Aunt Patricia commented. Supporting Colette in this difficult time. She's doing what she needs to do for her health. Not everything is as simple as it appears. Then Uncle Frank, who I hadn't seen in years, commented. I've been in Colette's position. It takes enormous courage to set boundaries with family. Proud of her for standing up for herself. The narrative started fracturing. People were confused now. Some defended my parents. Others started questioning. A few people I went to high school with reached out privately, asking what really happened. I told close friends the basic truth. That I'd been financially supporting my parents for 3 years. That they'd never said thank you. That when I stopped, they kicked me out. That I was protecting myself now. Word spread the way it does in communities. By evening, the comment section on Mom's post was a war zone between people who believed her victimhood narrative and people who suspected there was more to the story. Mom deleted the post by 9 p.m. But I had screenshots. Hannah had screenshots. The internet never forgets. The next day, Tuesday, I was at work when the receptionist called my desk. Colette, there's someone here to see you. He says he's your brother. My blood went cold. Tell him I'm not available. He's being pretty insistent. I'd anticipated this. I'd already talked to building security about potential family issues. Tell security. They know what to do. I grabbed my phone and went downstairs with Marcus, the security guard I'd briefed last week. Tyler was in the lobby, and he looked terrible. Unshaven, red-eyed, rumpled clothes. Desperate. Colette! He spotted me. Finally. We need to talk. Tyler, you can't be here. This is my sister, he said to Marcus. I just need 5 minutes. Sir, you need to leave, Marcus said firmly. You need to fix this, Tyler said to me, his voice rising. Mom and Dad are losing the house. This is your fault. You started this. I'm not discussing this here. Please leave. You owe us. You owe me. I have kids to think about. 3 kids. What am I supposed to tell them when they lose their grandparents' house? People in the lobby were staring. My coworkers were watching. This was a nightmare. Your kids are not my responsibility, I said, keeping my voice level. You're their father. Parent them. You selfish brat. His voice echoed through the marble lobby. After everything we've done for you. After we included you in our family. Sir, I'm asking you one more time to leave, Marcus said, stepping between us. Tyler's face flushed red. This is my sister. She's destroying our family. Someone needs to make her understand. Sir, leave now, or I'm calling the police. Tyler stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe the Colette he knew, the one who'd say yes to everything, was gone. You'll regret this, he said finally. You'll regret choosing yourself over family. I already chose myself, I said. 3 months ago. Best decision I ever made. Marcus escorted Tyler out. I stood there shaking, aware of every eye on me. Amanda, my boss, appeared at my elbow. My office. Now, I followed her upstairs, terrified I was about to be fired for bringing family drama to work. Sit, she said, closing the door. Are you okay? I'm sorry. I never meant to bring this here. Colette, stop. You're not in trouble. I'm asking if you're okay. That looked intense. I gave her the abbreviated version, enough to explain without oversharing. Financial boundary with family. They're not taking it well. I've involved lawyers. It's escalating. Amanda listened, nodding. I had a similar situation with my mother. Different details, same pattern. Took me years to set boundaries. She leaned forward. Take the afternoon off. Go home. Decompress. And Colette, I'm proud of you for standing your ground. The validation from my boss, someone I respected enormously, made tears spring to my eyes. I managed to thank her and escape to my office to grab my things. Following Hannah's advice, I went straight to the police station and filed a report about Tyler's workplace harassment. The officer took my statement, noting everything. This is documented now, Officer Chen said. If he shows up at your home or workplace again, call immediately. We can pursue trespassing and harassment charges. I also filed a report about my parents' threatening voicemails and texts. Officer Chen reviewed them and agreed they constituted harassment. Would you like to pursue a restraining order? Not yet. But I want this documented in case I need to. She gave me a case number and told me to call if any family member showed up anywhere again. Driving home, I felt strangely empowered. I was protecting myself using proper legal channels. Not hiding. Not backing down. Fighting back with the law on my side. That evening, the email I'd been waiting for arrived. From the mortgage company. Subject: cosigner. Removal approved. My hands shook as I opened it. The formal language confirmed it. Due to evidence of financial coercion provided by my attorney, they were removing me as cosigner effective immediately. My parents were now solely responsible for the mortgage. The letter continued. Primary borrowers have been notified of this change. They have 30 days to refinance or face foreclosure proceedings. Please note, this decision is final and cannot be reversed. I was free, legally untangled from their financial mess. My credit protected. Their problem entirely theirs now. I forwarded the email to Hannah with shaking hands. It worked. Her response came immediately. Congratulations. You did it. You're legally protected now. Then another email arrived, this one from Tyler's wife, Melissa. Subject: I didn't know. I opened it cautiously. Colette, I don't know if you'll even read this. I understand if you don't, but I need you to know something. I just found out what's been happening. Tyler told me you volunteered to help with babysitting, that you offered to contribute financially, that you enjoyed being part of the kids' lives. I thought you loved spending time with them. I had no idea you were being pressured and manipulated. I'm horrified. Tyler and I have been fighting for 3 days. He told me his parents wanted us to ask you for money for the kids' private school tuition next year. $15,000. I said absolutely not. He said it was normal, that you'd always helped before. That's when I realized what was really happening. I've been blind to how his parents operate, and Tyler learned it from them. I'm so sorry. You deserve so much better from all of us. I'm working on Tyler. He's resistant, but I've threatened to leave if he doesn't get therapy and address this pattern. I know you probably can't forgive any of us right now. But I wanted you to know. I see it now. And I'm on your side, even if that means going against my husband's family. The kids do miss you, but they're fine. They have 2 parents who can take care of them. You were never responsible for them. I hope you're taking care of yourself. You deserve peace. Melissa. I read the email 3 times. It was the first crack in my family's united front. The first person to break ranks. The first acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the problem. I wrote back, "Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate you seeing the truth. I'm not ready for contact with Tyler yet, but I hope you can help him see what I've been seeing. Take care of those kids. They're lucky to have you." That night, I sat in my apartment with Brian, processing everything. The workplace confrontation. The police reports. The cosigner removal. Melissa's email. "You're winning," Brian said. "It doesn't feel like winning. It feels like war." Because it is. But you're fighting back. You're protecting yourself. That's what winning looks like. He was right. 3 months ago, I would have caved at Tyler's workplace scene. Would have paid the back mortgage just to stop the pressure. would have sacrificed my own peace for their comfort. Now, I'd stood my ground. I'd filed police reports. I'd protected my credit. I'd built legal walls between us. I was fighting back. And slowly, painfully, I was winning. The email notification from the mortgage company must have hit my parents' inbox the same moment it hit mine. Within an hour, Mom called from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Colette. Her voice was ragged, crying. Please, we're going to lose everything. I'm begging you. For just a moment, that old familiar guilt rose up. My mother was crying. My mother needed me. But then she kept talking. If you'd just paid the mortgage like you were supposed to, none of this would have happened. This is your fault. You did this to us. Even in begging, she was blaming me. Mom, you need to sell the house and downsize. The mortgage isn't my responsibility. It never was. How can you be so cruel? I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. A mother who called me ungrateful and told me never to come back. A mother who took $178,000 from me over 3 years and never once said thank you. A mother who tried to sue me. How dare you throw money in my face? That's what family does. We help each other. Help goes both ways, Mom. You only took. You never gave. I raised you. I fed you. I clothed you. That's what I gave. That's called parenting. That's the minimum requirement. Children don't owe parents repayment for being raised. She gasped like I'd slapped her. You've become so cold. I don't even know you anymore. Good, I said. Because the person you knew was someone you could use. And she's gone. I hung up. Blocked the number. My hands shook, but my head felt clear. 3 days later, I got a call from Patricia. There's a family meeting, she said. Sunday at David's house. Your parents asked me to get you there. They're calling it urgent family business. I'm not going. I think you should. David, Frank, and I are planning to confront them together about the pattern. Safety in numbers. We think it's time someone held them accountable in front of the whole family. I thought about it. Discussed it with Brian and Dr. Sarah. Finally agreed. Sunday afternoon, Brian drove me to David's house in the suburbs. He parked down the street. I'll be right here, he said. Call if you need me. I walked up to the house with Patricia and Frank flanking me like bodyguards. Patricia squeezed my hand once before we went in. The living room was full. My parents sat on the couch, looking smaller than I remembered. Tyler and Melissa sat in chairs, Melissa's hand on Tyler's arm. David and his wife Christine stood near the fireplace. Frank and Patricia entered with me. And in the corner, in the best chair in the room, sat my grandmother, 82 years old, sharp-eyed, watching everything. My parents looked shocked that I'd actually come. Dad stood up. Now that everyone's here, we need to address Colette's behavior. She needs to apologize and resume her family responsibilities. Sit down, David said. His voice had an edge I'd never heard. We're not here for that. What? Mom looked confused. David stepped forward. We're here to address the pattern of financial abuse that's been happening in this family for over 15 years. The room went silent. This is ridiculous, Dad started, but Frank cut him off. Is it? Because in 2010 through 2015, you convinced me to pay for home renovations, then car payments, then credit card bills, then property taxes. I gave you over $40,000. When I finally said no, you told everyone I'd abandoned the family. Patricia spoke next. 2019 through 2022. Property taxes. Almost $15,000. You said it was temporary. It never was. David pulled out papers. $30,000 loan in 2019. Never repaid. Not 1 cent. When I asked about repayment, you said I was being selfish. They took turns, each one sharing their story. The same pattern every time. A crisis. A request for help. Temporary becomes permanent. Gratitude becomes entitlement. Questions become accusations. Boundaries become betrayal. And then they all turned to me. Colette gave you $178,000 over 3 years, Patricia said. And you kicked her out when she finally said no. She's our daughter, Mom cried. It's different. How? Frank demanded. How is it different? You did the exact same thing to her that you did to all of us. Grandma spoke for the first time. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through everything. I taught you better than this, Helen. Mom looked at her own mother in shock. I've watched you do this to your siblings, to your family, for years. I said nothing because you're my daughter. But what you've done to Colette is unforgivable. That child has given you everything. And you've given her nothing but demands. Mum, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I offered to help you downsize. Offered to supplement your income from my savings. You refused because you feel entitled to live in a house you can't afford. You'd rather manipulate your own children than accept your circumstances. Dad tried to defend them. We raise these kids. They owe us. That's how family works. No, Frank said firmly. Children don't owe parents repayment for being raised. That's not family. That's indentured servitude. Tyler surprised everyone by speaking up. His voice shook. Dad, maybe they're right. Everyone turned to look at him. Melissa and I have been talking. A lot. She helped me see. He swallowed hard. I've been doing the same thing to Colette that you did. Using her. Manipulating her. Making her feel like she had to prove she loved my kids by sacrificing everything. Tyler, don't, Mom warned. No, Mom, I'm done. He looked at me. Colette, I'm sorry. I used you. I let my kids become a weapon to guilt you. I made you feel responsible for them when they're my responsibility. Melissa added quietly. I told him either he changes or I'm taking the kids and leaving. I won't raise them to think manipulation is love. Tyler continued. I'm starting therapy next week. I need to unlearn this. All of this. He gestured around the room. This whole system of using people. I don't want to be like... He looked at our parents. Like this. I nodded. Not quite ready to forgive, but acknowledging his words. Mom, cornered, lashed out. Fine. Everyone thinks I'm the villain. I'm the terrible mother. The evil person. Is that what you all want to hear? Classic manipulation. Playing victim when exposed. But this time, no one comforted her. David crossed his arms. Frank looked away. Patricia just shook her head. Helen, maybe we should listen, Dad said quietly. And I realized he was starting to crack too. Don't you start. Mom snapped at him. We're losing our house because our daughter is selfish and everyone else has turned against us. You're losing your house, Colette said, standing up. Because you can't afford the mortgage. You have equity. You have options. Sell and downsize. Refinance on your own income. Ask the bank for a modification. What you can't do anymore is force me to pay it. After everything we've done for you, I interrupted her. Something I'd never done before. What have you done? Specifically. Because you fed and clothed me as a child. Which is basic parenting. Not a debt. What else? What did you give me that I owe you $178,000 for? Silence. She couldn't answer. Because the truth was, they'd done the minimum as parents and expected endless repayment. We gave you life, she finally said. But it sounded weak even to her. That was your choice, not mine. I didn't ask to be born. You chose to have children. That comes with responsibilities, not future income streams. Dad spoke, and his voice was defeated. We need to sell the house. It was the first admission of reality I'd heard from either of them. Mom started crying. Real tears this time, not manipulation. Grief for her delusion ending. I don't want to leave this house, she sobbed. Sometimes we don't get what we want, Patricia said, not unkindly. Sometimes we get what we can actually afford. The meeting broke up slowly. People drifted into the kitchen. I stayed in the living room, emotionally exhausted. Grandma approached me, moving slowly with her cane. Walk with me to the porch, she said. Outside, we sat on David's porch swing. The afternoon sun was golden, the air crisp with autumn. "I need to tell you something," Grandma said. "About my will." "Grandma, you don't." "Hush and listen. I'm leaving everything to you and Tyler equally. About $400,000 each. Your mother doesn't know. I removed her from the will 5 years ago, when I saw what she was doing to Frank. I stared at her. "I'm telling you now because you need to know you'll be financially secure. Your mother can never guilt you about inheritance because she's getting nothing." "Grandma, there's more. The house your parents live in? I co-signed that mortgage 30 years ago when they bought it. It was supposed to be paid off 15 years ago. Instead, they kept refinancing it, pulling out equity for renovations and vacations and things they couldn't afford. They've mismanaged money their entire marriage. It was the final puzzle piece. This pattern went back decades. I'm 82 years old," Grandma said. "I won't be around forever. But I want you to know this. You did nothing wrong. You're not ungrateful. You're not selfish. You're the strong one who finally said no. And I'm proud of you." I hugged her, tears streaming down my face. These were different tears. Relief. Validation. Release. "I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. Now go live your life. Stop letting them steal it from you." I left David's house that day feeling lighter than I had in years. The truth was out. The family knew. The pattern was exposed. And I wasn't alone in seeing it anymore. The war wasn't over. But I'd won the most important battle. The battle for the truth. 6 months passed, like a breath I'd been holding for years, finally released. My alarm went off at 7 on a Saturday morning, but instead of dread, I felt anticipation. Brian rolled over next to me, sleepy and warm. We'd moved in together 3 months ago, splitting everything 50-50 like actual partners. No one owed anyone. No one kept score. Just 2 people building a life together. My apartment, our apartment now, looked different than it had 6 months ago. Plants everywhere. Brian's books mixed with mine on the shelves. Photos from the trips we'd taken covering the walls. Wine country. The coast. A long weekend in Seattle. Simple joys I'd never allowed myself before. I made coffee and checked my bank account, a habit I'd developed. Savings. $28,000 and growing. Investment account. $6,000. Retirement contributions maxed out for the year. For the first time in my adult life, I was financially secure. Not despite my family, but because I'd left them. My promotion had been finalized 3 months ago. Senior Marketing Director. Salary now $125,000 annually. Amanda told me I'd been on her radar for the role for 2 years, but I'd never seemed available for the commitment it required. Now I was not just available, but thriving. Leading the team, mentoring junior staff, bringing in clients. I'd lost 15 pounds of stress weight without trying. I slept through the night. My skin looked better. Even my hair seemed shinier. Turns out, removing toxic people from your life does wonders for your health. Every Thursday at 6 p.m., I saw Dr. Sarah. We'd processed the childhood trauma, the parentification, the years of manipulation. We were working now on building healthy relationships, recognizing red flags, setting boundaries without guilt. "You've done remarkable work," Dr. Sarah told me in our last session. 6 months ago, you couldn't say no without apologizing. Now you advocate for yourself naturally. It was true. Last week, a friend asked to borrow money. Old Colette would have given it immediately. New Colette said, "I'm not comfortable lending money to friends. It changes relationships, but I can help you look at your budget if you want." The friend thanked me for the honesty. Sunday mornings became sacred. Farmer's market with Jenna, and sometimes Patricia. Brunch at the place with the good pancakes. Reading in the park when the weather allowed. Simple rituals that fed my soul instead of draining it. I'd heard updates about my family through Patricia, who remained my bridge to that world. My parents had sold the house. Not by choice, but necessity. They'd downsized to a 2-bedroom apartment they could actually afford on Dad's salary from his new sales job and Mom's part-time work at the library. It was tight, Patricia said, but they were managing. For the first time in their marriage, they were living within their means. They'd been in therapy. Court mandated after I'd filed initial restraining order paperwork, though I'd ultimately decided not to follow through with it. Hannah had advised that the threat alone might be enough to create change. She'd been right. Tyler was doing better. He'd been in therapy for 5 months, working through the patterns he'd learned from our parents. Melissa had given him an ultimatum, and he'd chosen growth. Their kids were in public school now instead of the private school they couldn't afford. The kids were happy, thriving, without the pressure of maintaining appearances. 2 months ago, Tyler had texted me. Simple message. "Can we talk sometime? When you're ready." No pressure. I'd said yes, eventually. Last month, we'd met for coffee. 1 hour, in a public place, with clear boundaries established beforehand. He'd apologized genuinely, not because he wanted something, but because he meant it. "I'm learning that love isn't sacrifice," he'd said. "Melissa's teaching me that love is mutual respect. Support without strings. Being there without keeping score. All the things I never learned growing up." He didn't ask for forgiveness. Didn't expect us to be close again. Just wanted me to know he was changing. "I don't expect to have a relationship with you," he'd said. "But I want you to know I'm working on being better. For Melissa. For my kids. For me." I'd appreciated his honesty. We weren't close, but we were civil. Maybe someday more. But I wasn't holding my breath. My mother had sent a letter through Patricia last month. 3 pages mixing genuine apology with self-justification. She made mistakes, but didn't realize how much she'd taken. Classic minimization. But buried in the defensive language was a moment of truth. "I'm sorry I called you ungrateful. You were the most grateful child. You gave everything. I took advantage of that. I'm ashamed." It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was progress. I'd written back through Patricia. "I appreciate your apology. I'm not ready for a relationship yet. I need more time to heal. Maybe in the future we can have limited contact with clear boundaries. For now, I need space." I'd left the door open a crack. Not for them, but for myself. So I never had to wonder what if. Every Sunday, I visited Grandma. She was declining physically, but her mind stayed sharp. We'd sit in her sunroom and she'd share stories about her own mother. My great-grandmother. More patterns of enmeshment and obligation in our family line. "I broke free by moving to another state when I married," she'd told me. "But I still sent money. The guilt lives in our bones, Colette. You're the first one to really break the cycle." Today's visit was particularly meaningful. Grandma had asked me to bring my laptop. She wanted to show me something. I sat next to her, opening my computer. "I'm updating my will again," she said. "I want you to see the changes." She'd increased my inheritance. $400,000. Tyler's remained the same. Mom's remained at 0. "Grandma, this is too much." "It's exactly right. You'll use it wisely. Save it. Invest it. Buy a house. Build your future. And you'll never have to wonder if you're financially secure." She pulled out an old photo album. Pictures of me as a child. Always helping. Always trying to make others happy. Always too responsible for my age. "That little girl," Grandma said, pointing to a photo of me at 8, helping my mother carry groceries, "deserved to just be a child. I'm sorry I didn't protect her better." "You're protecting me now," I said, tears in my eyes. "By telling me the truth." She gifted me a journal. Leather-bound. Beautiful. "Write your own story," she said. "Not the one they told you about yourself. The real one." That night, I started writing, processing everything through pages. And I realized something profound. I wasn't writing about pain anymore. I was writing about strength. Present day. I stood in my living room, looking at the vision board I'd created with Dr. Sarah. Goals for the next 5 years covered the corkboard. Buy my own house. No co-signers. No help. All mine. Make VP of marketing. Marriage and family. On my terms. When ready. Financial independence permanently established. Boundaries maintained with birth family. Build chosen family stronger. I wasn't angry anymore. The rage that had fueled my first months of freedom had transformed into something else. Understanding, peace, acceptance. I understood now that my parents' behavior wasn't about my worth. It was about their brokenness, their entitlement, their inability to live within their means. I didn't cause it, couldn't control it, couldn't cure it. All I could do was protect myself and build better. And I had. 6 months ago, I'd thought walking away from my family made me ungrateful. Now I knew it made me free. I'd given them $178,200 over 3 years, but money wasn't even the real cost. I'd been giving them something more valuable. My peace. My future. My sense of self. When they told me to get out and never come back, they thought they were punishing me. Instead, they'd given me permission to save myself. That mortgage I'd paid for 3 years? It wasn't for their house. It was the price I'd paid for their approval. And their approval was never actually available for purchase. No amount of money, time, or sacrifice would ever be enough, because the problem wasn't me. It was them. Some people will only love what you give them, not who you are. And when you stop giving, you discover who actually loves you. 3 months after leaving, Dad texted asking why I hadn't paid the mortgage. Not how are you, not we miss you, just where's our money? That text was the clearest statement of my value to them. I was a bank account with feelings. But here's what I learned. You can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. And family isn't who you're born to. Family is who shows up when you need them. Patricia, Frank, David, Jenna, Brian, Dr. Sarah, Hannah, Marcus, Amanda, Grandma. That was my family now. The ones who loved me. Not what I provided. This morning, I was at brunch with Jenna, Patricia, and Brian, laughing about something silly. My phone buzzed. Tyler, the kids made you a drawing. Can I send it? I typed back. Yes. Simple boundary. I'd accept gestures but not obligations. The drawing arrived. 3 stick figures with crayoned smiles. We love Aunt Colette written in a child's handwriting. I smiled and saved it, not rushing back, not shutting the door completely, healing at my pace. I put my phone away and returned to brunch. To laughter. To chosen family. To life. I thought leaving would break me. Instead, it was the moment I finally became whole. The life lesson burned itself into my heart like a brand. Family isn't defined by blood or obligation. Real love doesn't come with invoices. The people who truly care about you will never make you pay for their approval. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who only love what you give them, not who you are. Gratitude goes both ways. Respect goes both ways. Love goes both ways. And when it doesn't, you have every right to choose yourself. That's not selfish. That's survival. That's strength. That's freedom. 6 months ago, I stood in my childhood home with a suitcase, walking away from people who saw me as a resource instead of a daughter. Today, I stand in my own home, surrounded by people who see me as valuable just for existing. I'd been taught that family meant sacrifice, that love meant giving, until you had nothing left. That duty meant destroying yourself for others' comfort. I've learned different truths now. Family means mutual support. Love means wanting the best for each other, not taking until one person breaks. Duty means taking care of yourself first, so you can help others from a place of strength, not depletion. My parents gave me life, but I gave myself freedom. And that freedom? That's the inheritance I'll actually pass on. The knowledge that you can walk away from toxicity, even when it's wrapped in the word family, that you can build a new family from people who actually see you, that you can heal from wounds that go bone deep. I'm 29 now. I have decades ahead of me. Decades to build wealth, relationships, joy. Decades that belong to me, not to people who would drain them dry. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed. If I'd kept paying, if I'd kept sacrificing, I'd probably be broke by now. Bitter, exhausted, waiting for approval that would never come. Instead, I'm free, building a life on my own terms, learning what healthy love looks like, becoming the person I was always meant to be before guilt and obligation buried her. To anyone listening who recognizes themselves in my story, you're not ungrateful for setting boundaries. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're not abandoning anyone by choosing yourself. You're surviving. You're growing. You're free. And freedom? That's worth more than any mortgage payment could ever be. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because they only loved what you could do for them? Have you ever felt guilty for setting boundaries with family? How did you find the courage to choose yourself? Share your story in the comments. You might help someone else realize they're not alone. And if this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for more real stories about real struggles, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is let others know that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this community where we can share truth without shame. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're going through, you remember you deserve peace. You deserve respect. You deserve love that doesn't come with conditions. Take care of yourselves. And remember, the family you choose can heal the wounds from the family you were born into. You're not alone. You're not wrong. And you're absolutely worthy of a life built on your own terms. Until next time, be kind to yourselves. You've earned it.